Today we'll talk about the ongoing events, evolution and disruption of the global financial system, driven in past by new technologies and changing geopolitical dynamics. Certainly, here are some more details on the events mentioned. 1. Fall of banks in the US for being crypto-friendly. The rise of cryptocurrencies and the adoption of blockchain technology has led some banks to embrace these new technologies, while others have been more hesitant. While there have not been any major bank failures in the US specifically due to their cryptocurrency dealings, some banks have faced regulatory scrutiny for their involvement with cryptocurrencies. If a bank were to fall due to its involvement with cryptocurrencies, it could lead to significant financial losses for investors and depositors, and the resulting instability could have far-reaching consequences for the wider economy. This has led to some banks reducing or halting their cryptocurrency-related activities to avoid running afoul of regulatory requirements. On the other hand, some banks have embraced cryptocurrencies and launched their own digital asset services, recognizing the growing demand for these types of assets among customers. 2. Dollar dominance by China and Russia. China and Russia's efforts to challenge the US dollar's dominance in the global financial system could be significant implications for people around the world. They have been seeking to reduce their reliance on the US dollar as the world's primary reserve currency. If the US dollar were to lose its status as the world's reserve currency, it could lead to a significant devaluation of the dollar, which would have a ripple effect on global financial markets and economics. This could lead to higher inflation and lower purchasing power for individuals, as well as a shift in the balance of global economic power. To become the next global economic power, China and Russia have been increasing their gold reserves and exploring the use of other currencies and digital assets for trade and investment. China, for example, has been developing its own digital currency, the digital yuan, which could potentially challenge the dominance of the US dollar in international trade and finance. Certainly, China and Russia have been making efforts to challenge the dominance of the US dollar in the global financial system for several years. Some of their key initiatives include: 1. Promoting the use of their own currencies. China and Russia have been promoting the use of their own currencies in international trade and investment. This reduces the need for other countries to hold US dollars and could potentially decrease demand for the US dollar. 2. Developing alternative payment systems. China and Russia have been developing alternative payment systems to bypass the traditional SWIFT system that is dominated by the US. For example, China has launched its own cross-border payment system called CIPS, China International Payment System, which aims to reduce reliance on SWIFT and the US dollar. 3. Increasing gold reserves. Both China and Russia have been increasing their gold reserves in recent years. Gold is often seen as a store of value that can provide a hedge against inflation and currency devaluation. By increasing their gold reserves, China and Russia are reducing their reliance on the US dollar as a reserve currency. 4. Developing digital currencies. Both China and Russia have been exploring the development of digital currencies. China, for example, has launched a digital version of its currency called the digital yuan. This could potentially challenge the dominance of the US dollar in international trade and finance. The impact of these initiatives on the global financial system is complex and multifaceted. If China and Russia are successful in reducing their reliance on the US dollar, this could potentially decrease demand for the US dollar, which could lead to a decrease in its value. This could have significant implications for the US economy, which relies heavily on the strength of the US dollar. On the other hand, some analysts argue that the impact of China and Russia's efforts to challenge US dollar dominance may be limited. Despite their efforts, the US dollar remains the dominant currency in the global financial system, and many countries continue to hold significant amounts of US dollar reserves. Overall, the ongoing efforts by China and Russia to challenge US dollar dominance highlight the ongoing evolution and disruption of the global financial system, and the need for continued innovation and adaptation in the financial sector to meet the changing needs and expectations of consumers and businesses. 3. Incident of free speech of Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate is a former kickboxing champion and internet personality who has been vocal in his support of cryptocurrencies and other alternative financial systems. He has been critical of centralized financial institutions and their perceived limitations on financial freedom. In 2021, Tate claimed that he was banned from using PayPal and Venmo due to his pro-cryptocurrency views and his criticism of centralized financial institutions. This incident has raised concerns about censorship and limitations on free speech in the financial industry. Restrictions on free speech can have a significant impact on people's emotional well-being and their ability to express themselves freely. It can also limit access to information and stifle dissent, which can have far-reaching consequences for democracy and human rights. The incident involving Andrew Tate and the backlash he has faced due to his controversial comments can be seen as an example of the ongoing debate about the limits of free speech in democratic societies. While free speech is a fundamental right, there are situations in which it may conflict with other important values, such as equality, inclusion, and respect for diversity. In recent years, there has been growing concern about hate speech, online harassment, and other forms of harmful speech that can create a hostile or intimidating environment for marginalized groups. Many people argue that these types of speech should not be protected by free speech laws, as they can cause harm and violate the rights of others. On the other hand, defenders of free speech argue that any restrictions on speech, even offensive or harmful speech, can lead to a slippery slope of censorship and repression. They argue that the best way to combat hateful or offensive speech is through counter-speech and dialogue, rather than through government intervention or censorship. The situation involving Andrew Tate highlights the ongoing tension between these two perspectives. While Tate may argue that his comments are protected by free speech laws, others may argue that his comments are harmful and create an unsafe environment for certain groups of people. Ultimately, the challenge for democratic societies is to find a way to balance these competing values, to protect free speech while also ensuring that everyone feels safe and valued in public spaces. This requires ongoing dialogue and engagement among individuals and communities, as well as a commitment to upholding the principles of free speech and democratic governance. These events are all examples of the ongoing evolution and disruption of the global financial system, driven in part by new technologies and changing geopolitical dynamics. While they may have short-term impacts on specific industries or individuals, they also highlight the need for continued innovation and adaptation in the financial sector to meet the changing needs and expectations of consumers and businesses.